Good afternoon, Adachi-san.
Good afternoon.
Very nice very happy to receive you today in the studio of the Business Summit.
The same to you.
So maybe we can have a few words about, to introduce what Horiba is. Horiba is more behind the scene in the machine or other things. Can you perhaps give us a couple of examples of machine, of things that Horiba does that are very important in machines we use?
Yeah. Well, Horiba's instrument, we have 5 business segments. The first one is automotive, and mainly we measure the exhaust emission for the environment. And the second one is a process and environment, measuring again the exhaust from a power plant or petroleum plant or air and water quality. And the third segment is a medical, measuring the hematology, this blood cells and the blood condition of your health. And we have a semiconductor segment, which is providing a measurement and control scheme for semiconductor manufacturing. And the last one, but not the least, is a scientific segment, which is providing R&D, research, analytical instrumentation for academia, or those kind of things. So recently, the energy and the environment is really being focused by all this discussion about environment and the climate change and everything, and also the semiconductor industry is actually getting very busy now because of this pandemic. Remote working and all these things is actually accelerating this semiconductor business now.
So you mentioned environment, which is of course a concern for everybody, and there's a lot of pressure from your clients and the public to be more and more green and greener and greener. How does it affect Horiba inside the company? Like, do you have to be careful on the way you produce things? And how does it change the client request? They ask you they request more to be more green in your processes. They ask you to produce more with less supply. How does it affect you?
Yeah, well, the history of Horiba's automotive business it's directly related to the protection of the environment because we measure the exhaust emission, and so we have been working on a combustion analysis mainly. However, as you know, needless to say, this internal combustion engine is kind of being replaced by the electrification. The EVs, full EVs with a battery and motor, and also probably in the near future, we will have more utilization of hydrogen fuel using a fuel cell on the vehicle. And so, we have been working mainly on the analysis of combustion engines, but now we are adding our capability to measure and control motor and battery, and also the fuel cell system. That's the biggest change.
Do you find that Japanese and foreign companies have the same demand on environment? Do you find they are converging, or they are not on the same level?
Well, actually, our customers are already global. We are doing our business, closely. 70% of our automotive business is outside of Japan, and so we don't really see too much difference in, Japan domestic against, non-Japanese companies. So they are doing pretty much the same thing.
If we talk a bit about Africa, do you have some activities in Africa, and which one do you have? The president of Kyoto Seika University was saying he was talking with you about the students exchange and forming people. What is the footprint of Horiba in Africa?
Well, because we are using the French offices, our French office is actually the window for the African market. And we are pretty, have a significant activity, operation in medical segment in Montpellier, France. And that's probably the physical reason, geographical reason, why we have probably 3/4 of our business in Africa is actually a medical business, selling our blood cell counters and the blood analysis instrument.
How do you, of course, Horiba is a very how can I say, solid industrial company in Japan, and you are still very high despite the competition from China and all new companies. How do you keep this edge? How do you keep such a lead in an industrial field with so many competitors who have costs that are much smaller than yours?
Yeah, well, although we are headquartered in Kyoto, Japan, we are pretty much globalized in our size of the company, very much globalized. And for example, like a nationality distribution of a company, we have less than 40% is Japanese. So, in other words, Japanese is already minority, and the French people are actually the second biggest headcounts in our group, and so our competition is pretty already global, and we are competing with really the frontline technology and the frontline customers, and so that's probably the key to maintain our global positioning. If we are just in a Japanese company and competing with only the Japanese companies, probably if you look at the entire globe, probably it's not gonna be make us a global player. But since we are the global player, that's the reason why we can maintain our positioning in the global field.
Thank you very much, Adachi.